On May 2, 2025, Times Square, the pulsating heart of New York City, will host an unprecedented boxing event, a spectacle that promises to redefine how fans experience the sport. The main event pits Ryan Garcia against Rolly Romero, a grudge match that has evolved from professional rivalry into something deeply personal. The card is stacked with other high-profile bouts, including Devin Haney versus Jose Ramirez and Teofimo Lopez against Arnold Barboza, but it's the Garcia Romero clash that has captured the imagination of fans and analysts alike. Yet, as the date approaches, the event is mired in contradictions, a public-facing extravaganza in one of the world's most iconic locations, but with no tickets for the general public, raising questions about accessibility, intent, and the future of boxing itself. The build-up to Garcia versus Romero has been nothing short of chaotic. What began as a stylistic showdown, Garcia's lightning-fast hands and precise left hook against Romero's raw power and unpredictable aggression, has spiraled into a personal vendetta. The tipping point came recently when Garcia headbutted Romero during a promotional event, an unscripted moment caught on camera that went viral. This wasn't a staged press conference stunt, it was raw hostility, a glimpse into the bad blood that has simmered for years. The two have a history that stretches beyond the ring, fueled by sparring sessions from nearly a decade ago, online taunts, and leaked messages that have kept the feud alive. For Garcia, fresh off a one-year suspension and eager to reclaim his place among boxing's elite, this fight is a chance to silence doubters and humiliate a rival. For Romero, the WBA 140-pound champion, it's an opportunity to play the villain and shut Garcia down for good. The tension is palpable, but the event's logistics have sparked as much conversation as the fighters themselves. Times Square has never hosted a professional boxing match, and the choice of venue initially led fans to envision a once-in-a-lifetime public spectacle. Promotional images circulating online depicted a ring set against the backdrop of flashing billboards and bustling crowds, suggesting an open-air event where anyone could walk up and witness history. But Matchroom Boxing's Eddie Hearn, one of the event's key organizers, recently clarified that those images were not official. Many were AI-generated by enthusiastic fans or hype pages, not part of the actual plan. The reality is far less accessible. There will be no public tickets. The event is designed for cameras, television, and a select group of VIPs, celebrities, and hand-picked guests. Hearn admitted that the decision to forego ticket sales leaves millions in potential revenue on the table, anywhere from $5 to $10 million by his estimate. Yet, he emphasized that the vision isn't about filling seats but creating a cinematic broadcast, a spectacle tailored for screens rather than live audiences. This revelation has left fans stunned and divided. Why choose Times Square, one of the busiest and most public places on Earth, if not to capitalize on its accessibility? Why lean into the chaos of New York streets only to exclude the very fans who give boxing its soul? Hearn didn't shy away from the business logic, noting that the event is about grabbing attention in a way traditional venues can't. He even referenced a rumored 2026 boxing event at Alcatraz, suggesting that the goal is to place fights in unexpected, iconic locations to generate buzz, not necessarily to sell tickets. It's a bold strategy, but it's not without critics. Oscar de la Hoya, Garcia's promoter through Golden Boy Promotions, has hyped the event as a public gathering, predicting 500,000 people could show up to watch for free. Garcia echoed this on Instagram, framing it as a massive, open celebration. But from a logistical standpoint, these claims seem fanciful. There's no evidence of crowd management plans or coordination with New York authorities to handle such numbers. If crowds do materialize, the result could be chaos rather than celebration. The event's closed-set nature feels particularly jarring given the raw emotion driving the Garcia-Romero matchup. Garcia, at 26, is at a pivotal moment in his career. After a high-profile loss to Gervonta "Tank" Davis in 2023, one of the best-selling pay-per-views of that year, he faced relentless criticism. Detractors called him overhyped, an influencer masquerading as a fighter, pointing to his flashy lifestyle and candid discussions about mental health as evidence of weakness. But Garcia bounced back with a knockout win over Oscar Duarte in late 2023, looking sharp, focused, and hungry. His speed, timing, and devastating left hook remain among the best in the 140-pound division, and he's made it clear he wants to dominate Romero, not just defeat him. Romero, meanwhile, is fighting to prove he still belongs. Once known for his reckless, explosive style, he hasn't been the same since a brutal knockout loss to Tank Davis in 2022. That fight was supposed to be his breakout moment, but a single left hand from Davis ended it, and according to analysts like Tim Bradley, it changed Romero forever. Bradley, a former champion turned respected commentator, didn't mince words when discussing Romero's prospects. He called Romero damaged goods, suggesting that the knockout by Davis broke something fundamental, mentally and physically. Romero's record since then, including a controversial stoppage win over Ismael Barroso and a victory against Manuel James, hasn't inspired confidence. He's looked hesitant, less explosive, as if fighting to survive rather than dominate. Bradley predicts Garcia will catch Romero with a left hook and end the fight decisively, a sentiment echoed by Shakur Stevenson, another elite fighter in the division. Stevenson dismissed Romero's chances, calling Garcia too fast and too sharp. "Ryan's quick, man," Stevenson said. "I'm scared of the guy whose hands you can't see." For Stevenson, the fight could end in a knockout, a prediction that underscores the gap many see between the two fighters' current forms. Romero's struggles go beyond perception. His style, once defined by aggression and unorthodox power, relied on belief in his chin, his instincts, and his ability to impose chaos. But that approach requires unshakable confidence, something that appears to have eroded. His WBA title at 140 pounds, won through a questionable technical stoppage, has done little to silence doubters who argue he's the division's weakest link. Garcia, by contrast, has used the criticism against him as fuel. His decision to call out Romero was strategic, targeting a champion whose vulnerabilities are well documented. Yet, Romero isn't backing down. He's leaned into his role as the antagonist, mocking Garcia's mental health struggles, his suspension, and his comeback. For Romero, this fight is a chance to reclaim his narrative and prove he's more than a stepping stone. The undercard adds further intrigue. Devin Haney, Garcia's longtime rival, faces Jose Ramirez in a bout that could steal the spotlight. Haney, known for his slick boxing and surgical precision, is looking to remind fans why he's among the sport's best. Many expected Haney to be part of the main event narrative, given his history with Garcia, but instead, he's on the same card, fighting to stay relevant in a crowded division. Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barboza, while less hyped, is another chance for Lopez to prove he remains a draw after inconsistent performances. Together, these fights create a card brimming with talent, but the lack of a live crowd raises questions about how their energy will translate on screen. Boxing thrives on the roar of fans, the boos, the cheers, the gasps at a clean shot. Without that, the event risks feeling sterile, a polished product that lacks the grit of a live fight. The Times Square setting amplifies this tension. On one hand, it's a masterstroke of marketing, placing boxing in a global spotlight. On the other, it's a logistical nightmare. Shutting down Times Square for a private event is no small feat, and Hearn's team is reportedly stretched thin managing the details. The decision to prioritize cameras over crowds suggests a shift in how boxing is consumed, leaning into viral clips, social media reactions, and replay value. But this approach sacrifices the communal energy that defines the sport. Fans are already frustrated, feeling excluded from what was marketed as a public spectacle. Some speculate the move is intentional, an attempt to elevate boxing into a cinematic experience, like a Hollywood blockbuster rather than a gritty prize fight. Yet, there's a risk of alienating the core audience, the fans who pack arenas and fuel the sport's passion. The broader implications are troubling. If Times Square becomes a blueprint for future events, exclusive, camera-focused, and crowd-free, what happens to boxing's connection with its fans? For every Garcia or Haney, who can draw millions online, there are countless undercard fighters who rely on live crowds to build their careers. Grassroots buzz, the kind generated by raucous arenas, is what sustains the sports ecosystem. An event filled with influencers and billionaires, but no everyday fans, sends a message that boxing is becoming a luxury product, not a shared experience. There's also the risk of failure. If the broadcast falters, if the camera angles feel awkward or the setting looks more like a commercial than a battlefield, the event could fall flat. Times Square is a set, not a venue, and sets can crumble under pressure. For Garcia and Romero, these concerns are secondary. Their focus is on May 2nd, when they'll step into the ring with everything on the line. Garcia's speed and precision make him the favorite, but Romero's power and unpredictability can't be dismissed. The headbutt incident showed how personal this fight has become, and that intensity could lead to an explosive performance or a reckless mistake. Garcia wants to make a statement, to prove he's more than an influencer with a good left hook. Romero wants to defy the skeptics who say he's finished. The clash of their styles and personalities guarantees drama, but the absence of a live crowd may mute its impact. As the date nears, the boxing world is watching closely. Will this be a groundbreaking moment that redefines the sport, or a cautionary tale of ambition gone awry? Garcia predicts a knockout, vowing to chop Romero's head off. Romero, ever defiant, insists he's ready to shock the world. Analysts like Bradley and Stevenson lean heavily toward Garcia, but boxing is unpredictable. One punch can change everything. In Times Square, under the glare of cameras and the weight of expectations, that punch could echo far beyond the ring. For better or worse, May 2nd will be a night to remember.